Hello, happy Monday. It is episode 12 day. Hashtag episode 12 in the comments if you would like to enter to win today's pages. I have sent 0 pages out, by the way, if you've been waiting for them. Too much going on. I am a bit overwhelmed this week. It has been just 2 months of nonstop, like everyday activities, and I'm loving it, but I'm also hitting a wall. So we'll discuss that more at the end of this chapter. Today's chapter is about 5,000 words. And I forgot. I did not highlight, and I also forgot to number them. I need to just number them in Google, but I'm going to number them quickly because I feel like this time of year, I always am like, I can do this. And then I'm always, by the end, I'm like, I need a break. Because December's coming up and there's a lot that goes on in December too. But we had a fundraiser this weekend and it has just been nonstop. But I'm showing up. I'm showing up. Yes. Might as well send them all out at once. That is true. We will send them all on the same day and everyone will get them all at once. I did work out. Oh no, wait. What has happened? Okay. It printed twice. I'm like, wait, why am I back to the beginning? This is when you know that you are like delirious. Somehow I printed it twice. But there is a scene that I wanted to change. So let me see which one is the right one. Oh man. Okay. Dun dun dun. Okay. It's happening. Give me just a moment. Okay. This one's trash. I changed something at the last minute. I was like, I think I want to change how this goes. Okay, here we go. How is George's father doing? Thank you so much, Michelle, for asking. He is out of the ICU and is doing much better. So we are, fingers crossed, very, very grateful. He is doing a lot better. So hopefully out of the woods. We are a go for visiting them in January, and hopefully George might go out there before, just if we need it. So we're kind of all on, what would you call it? This is like word retrieval once I can't retrieve the right words. What's funny is the writing was flowing out of me, but when I'm trying to actually speak, there are no words left. And I was at a meeting earlier from 1 to 2, and I was like trying to speak, and I'm like, what are words? I have literally no idea. Standby. Thank you. We are all on standby just in case he needs to go out there. Just ready. Yeah. On call. Either of those would be great. I just couldn't come up with it. This episode is our penultimate episode, meaning we have one final episode after this. I'm probably not going to read it until Friday. And I really appreciate that you guys are so flexible with this, but I need a day off. I can feel it. Like, you might be able to hear it a little bit in my throat, but I can feel like, okay, I'm getting a little bit run down. And even though I pushed back this episode, I still didn't rest this weekend because it was nonstop stuff that's going on. And I didn't have any time to get extra rest. And I'm like, okay, I am not going to push myself into burnout. And I'm so grateful that I have a community that's going to have my back right now, because I want episode 13, the final episode, to be good more so than I want it to be on time. So we will read it on Friday. And if for some reason I'm like, nope, can't do it Friday too, I will just have a coffee chat. We will still have just a regular chat on Wednesday. I'll still be here as far as I know. And we can kind of do a recap of everything that's been happening. We can do, oh my gosh, I need a lavender potion. I do need a lavender potion. But yeah, I need some time. I want this to be so, so good. Yeah, I tried. I didn't even know I kept a cough in the vlog. So usually I will edit that kind of thing out, but I can feel it. And then if you saw today's vlog, George and I went out last night and it was just like carb central. We had rice bowls at the hibachi place, and we had this giant like waffle ice cream thing, and I can definitely feel it today. I'm like, sugar was probably a bad idea, but it was so fun, and we had such a great time, and I just love all the wonderful things that we get to do in this life, like all our live streams, this amazing story that is fun. Like, I don't think I have had words just like flowing out of me like this in so long. And it just feels so good. The story is clarifying. And as I was trying to figure out some of the final details of Friday's episode or 13th episode, a huge twist came to me that I didn't even see coming, and it made me cry. And I'm just like, oh, this is so good. But I need the time to make it great. And I know you guys appreciate that. So I'm going to take tomorrow off. I'm not going to vlog. I'm not going to edit a vlog. I am just going to chill. And I think I need it. I'm going to sleep as much as I want. I am going to nurture myself a little bit, and I'm just going to take the day off. And so I appreciate that. Yeah, characters definitely going off script, which is the best thing that happens. But tonight, I am not resting because Casey Ezel, who's not going to be here, I don't think, on the live, but you guys have seen her before over on the Discord. She's Sevilla Lost, but we met at the Subscriptions for Authors conference last year, and we have literally texted every day since then. And she was at HardyCon, for those of you that were there, and it just solidified our friendship even more. And she's in Dallas tonight. So as soon as we are off this live stream, I'm going to hug my kids who get home from school, and then I'm going to go hang out with her and her daughter and her best friend. And that's going to be super fun. We're doing just kind of a fun bookish night, which is great. But then when I get home, I'm sleeping. And I know I have said thank you, but let me just say, like, the process of having this external accountability, of knowing there are people excited for the story, getting your feedback on it, like hearing the things that you love, the things that you're like, oh, I hate him, whatever, is so fun for me. It's so motivational and it feels so good. But to also at the same time have the grace and understanding that nobody is mad at me for not being able to like get it every single time. Like that I need to push it back. Like the level of support shows that you really care about me, not just as a gimme the story, but as a person. Like I cannot even express to you how much that means to me. And it fulfills my biggest dreams of community as a writer. And I can't thank you enough. And so every time you think like, oh, you're having a bad day, just remember that like I'm out here loving you and so grateful for you. And you are always appreciated for that, because I would not be able to do this if it wasn't for you. I would probably still be like, I don't know what's going on in this story. Also, just as a quick update, that I originally thought the story was going to be about 36 to 40,000 words, and we have officially crossed 54,000 words. So probably we'll cross 60,000 words. So no wonder it took me longer than I expected, because it's longer book by 25%. Oh, thank you, Shepherd's Daughter. You are not a machine. We are all behind you. I'm so excited. It's gonna be great. But I think you're gonna love this episode. I hope. There's some good stuff here. Yay, Hanover, Germany. So exciting. Birgit. I don't know. Bush. I have loved Germany. I have been to Germany back in 2000, which is a long time ago, but I loved Germany. It was one of my favorite countries I've ever been to. So maybe someday I'll come visit you guys again. All right, we're going to read. We are going to read. I cannot wait for this. Deep breaths. Okay, this is episode 12. Do I terrify you? As the scoreboard locked and the labyrinth disappeared into dust, the 4 teams stepped forward and the arena stilled, waiting. Silence rolled through the stands like a living thing, sharp and heavy, pressing down on every breath. Even the false sun overhead dimmed a fraction, as if the shard itself were bracing for the inevitable. Adisa lifted her hands toward the regent's platform. Present the condemned. The 2 losing teams were dragged forward by sentinels in gleaming amethyst armor. One team still had all 5 members, but the other was down to just 3. 2 must have been killed inside the maze. As they were brought forward, my stomach twisted. The third place team had lost by seconds because of us. I couldn't forget that as they begged for their lives. I prayed for mercy. It was me she wanted dead, not them. Surely she would let them live. The regent rose from her throne, crown glinting beneath the violet lights. She lifted it from her head with a kind of casual elegance that made my skin crawl. The air trembled around us, electric, with the energy of anticipation. The center jewel of her crown expanded, its delicate structure unfolding like a dark flower, pulsing with light. Ilara sucked in a breath beside me. Callie shook her head. "I can't believe this," she whispered. "She hasn't done this in years." Orion and Brim both bowed their heads, but I couldn't look away. The regent held the crown in front of her body and began to chant, though the words were difficult to hear. Behind her, the crowd shifted uncomfortably, their cheers replaced by horror. The losing condemned were lifted off the ground, their bodies arching as invisible bindings snapped around their limbs and throats. One man screamed, and the sound echoed off the crystal walls like shattering glass. The regent extended her hand, and the gemstone on her crown ignited with light. Streams of violet tore upward from the condemned's bodies, ripping straight through their chests like threads unraveling from fabric. This was exactly like the magic of the soul stones that I'd seen before, but different, more violent. The stone wasn't just siphoning their magic, it was taking everything. Even their skin shriveled and turned to dust before our eyes. When the crown snapped shut again, only bones and scraps of clothing fell to the arena floor. Ash and dust drifted through the air, and Callie pressed a hand over her mouth. Brim stood frozen, fists clenched so tight his knuckles cracked. Across the arena, Slate didn't move, not even to blink or to look our way. If I didn't know him at all, I'd say he must have felt nothing watching the deaths of those condemned, but I could see how hard he fought to hold back his emotions. And I knew he'd seen this before. He'd suffered through this many times. He'd probably watched it happen to people he cared about or had sworn to protect. And because of the way this place worked and the loyalty the regent demanded, he'd carried that alone. I could feel the sorrow and the loneliness he'd carried inside for so long. It was heavy, like an ache in my chest, and despite the emotionless, hard expression carved on his face, I knew it came from him. The regent placed the crown back onto her head and turned toward our section. I saw no sign of cameras, but the magical screens circling the arena caught every shift of her expression as she transitioned from rage to ecstasy, finally landing on determination as her gaze found me. Her thin smile was a threat, a promise. My heart thundered in my chest, and I struggled to catch my breath. Winning today meant survival for me, but for how much longer? Every day that I lived made her hate me more, and in this place, she seemed to be the final judge, which meant I was marked for death the moment she'd set eyes on me. At my side, Callie touched my elbow. "Come on," she whispered. "We need to get out of here." Slate finally turned, his eyes sweeping across us as if he was taking inventory of the damage, emotional, physical, magical. His eyes met mine, and he jerked his chin toward the lower exit, a command that sent relief through my body even as my legs threatened to give way beneath me. I wasn't about to stay here any longer than I had to under the gaze of a crown that had just devoured 8 souls without hesitation. What exactly was that magic? I'd watched soul stones at work before, but they'd never been able to suck the life out of a body from a distance, much less decimate 8 people all at once. I'd known the regent was powerful, but I hadn't understood the full extent of her threat until today. And what if that wasn't even the full extent of it? What if that was still just a precursor to what she was capable of? As a team, we followed Slate down the steps and into the shadows beneath the arena, but I could still feel the regent's eyes on my back, burning, tracking, watching every move through the magic of the crystals. No one spoke. as Slate led us down the narrow stairwell and through the maze of corridors leading back to the training grounds. We entered the familiar area, but instead of stopping there, he paused, his neck turning once to look behind us before he motioned to the thick wall of solid amethyst at the back of the ring. My eyes widened as a door slid open, revealing an oval chamber carved into the wall's core. Callie and I exchanged glances as we followed him inside. The moment the door hissed shut behind us, Slate turned, fury etched across his forehead. "Explain." One word, a command wrapped in steel. Callie spoke first. "We got second place and we survived. We'll do better in the final round." "That's not what I asked." Slate's voice cut through her sentence like a blade, his gaze locked onto me. "Why did you break formation?" Heat surged into my cheeks. My heart hammered in my chest. "We were running out of time," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "If I hadn't split off, this group would be a pile of bones on the arena floor." "She disobeyed a direct order," Brim growled, "like always." My jaw tightened. It was a stupid order. Slate's eyes flashed, and he took 2 steps toward me. "You nearly got yourself killed. Again," he said. "You're reckless and irresponsible." Something inside me snapped, and my voice rose before I could stop it. "I saved us out there today." Brim let out a harsh laugh. "You saved yourself and abandoned your partner." I spun toward him. "I used the only advantage we had left to get us points we desperately needed." "You went rogue," he snarled, "again." "Did you see what the Regent did to those other teams? Would you rather have shared their fate? We were losing. I had no choice." Slate's voice dropped, dangerous. "There is always a choice." "No, there isn't." The words ripped out of me like something breaking loose. "Not for people like me. I've never had a choice. Not when I was watching my mother die. Not when the order took me in. Not when they tried to murder me for wanting to leave. And sure as hell not when the Regent wants me dead. From the minute I was born, I've had to do whatever it takes to survive. Out of everyone in the world, I would have expected all of you to understand that." The room fell silent. Brim stood there, fists trembling at his side. "Quite the victim, aren't you?" The tone of his voice twisted my insides and brought flames of rage burning through my throat. "What?" I screamed. "What did I ever do to you, Brimstone? And you better tell me this time, because for a split second inside that maze, I thought you were going to kill me. And I think that if we were further ahead in points, you might have done it. I think you wanted it." I got right up in his face, so done with his hatred and disdain. He'd been carrying it since the scarf trial, and I wasn't going to let him hide it any longer. Callie whispered his name, but Brim shook her off, finally dropping his onyx eyes to mine. "You want the truth?" Pain roughened his voice. "If you want me dead, you need to tell me why." The room went silent around us, waiting for him to speak. "I grew up in the Rocky Mountains," he said. "Middle of nowhere. My family lived quietly, off the grid, hunting, growing food, staying out of trouble. No magic, no priestesses, no nightmares." His hands curled into fists. "It took decades for us to escape the oppression of the Gargoyle Kingdom. As you are probably aware, shadow demon hybrids can be tricky, forbidden in certain kingdoms." My stomach twisted. I knew nothing of shadow demon hybrids. Who did he think I was? "One night, about 5 years ago," he continued, "someone broke into our cabin. A girl. Small, fast. She made almost no sound as she walked through our house, invisible to everyone else. But I saw her." He looked directly at me then, and I knew. He'd seen me in his house the same way he'd been able to see me in the scarf trial. "She took something from our family that night. a small diamond artifact that had been masking our magic, the one thing that had kept us safe and untrackable for all those years. The blood drained from my face. We tried to run, but without that diamond, the Gargoyle Council found us easily. Slate's head turned slightly at that, but he stayed quiet. In the end, my father begged for his life, for all our lives, Brim said, his lower lip trembling. I had a little sister, Mariah. The council killed her first. Brim choked on a breath. Sorry. My mother died next. Her screams etched into my soul for the rest of my life. And my father, he was the strongest man I'd ever known, and I watched his body broken into pieces, ground into dust to be used in spells. I felt myself shrinking under the weight of his stare. I didn't want this to be true. They killed them, he said, voice cracking, and I begged them to kill me too, but the Order of Shadows wanted payment for helping them locate us after all this time. They wanted me. His gaze locked onto mine, raw and burning. I fought back as hard as I could, but I wasn't strong enough. So they tortured me for years, experimenting on my body, testing my hybrid abilities before they finally decided they were done with me and sent me here to die, he said. So imagine how I felt when I looked up and there she was, the girl who'd stolen our only protection and sentenced my family to torture and death. His body trembled with rage even as a black tear fell down his left cheek. You, he whispered, that girl was you. His words stole the breath from my lungs and shattered my heart. How could this be true? How could I have done something so horrible? I didn't know, I croaked, struggling to find my voice. The Order never told me why they wanted something. I never got any details about it. They'd just show up with a job, and everyone in the house knew the consequences if we didn't do what they asked. Tears stung the corners of my eyes. But you're right. All those years, I only thought of my own survival, I said. I knew the things they were asking us to do were bad, but I was too scared to refuse them. They started sending me on those kind of jobs when I was just a kid with no family and nowhere to go. And all I thought about was making it through one more job, one more year, hoping someday I'd be free to make my own way in life. But I thought I had no choice at all. And you're right. It's because I was only thinking of myself and the consequences to my own life. I never thought about yours. I fell to my knees before him, head bowed as my entire body shook with sobs. I'm so sorry, Brim. I should have refused to do it. I should have ended it all those years ago because you're right. I wasn't doing it to protect my family. I don't even have a family anymore. I did it to protect myself. Brim stepped closer, towering and trembling. I wondered if he was going to strike me, but instead he lowered himself to his knees too, getting as close to my level as he could. I wanted to kill you today, he said softly. In that maze, when I saw you alone, I almost did it. The Regent commanded me to do it, threatened my life if I didn't. My head whipped up in surprise. The Regent. I told myself that ending you would balance the scales, that revenge would make all the suffering here worth it. I thought maybe it would earn me my freedom. My pulse thundered as I replayed the look in his eyes earlier, wherein he seemed to be so at war within himself. Why didn't you do it, Brim? She'll come after you now. He reached toward me, gentle but firm, as his large hands gripped my shoulders. Because I realized that if I followed through on the Regent's orders, then I'd be doing the same thing I hated you for doing all those years ago. I saw for the first time that you weren't some monster trying to hurt my family. You were just a kid, doing what she had to do to survive. His voice broke. Just like me. Something inside my chest cracked open. I'm sorry, I whispered. If I could go back. We can't go back, Bex. But we can live with honor now. We can fight against the real enemy, even if it means we die in the process. Brim stood, helping me up as he locked eyes with Slate. I do not know your loyalties, so I understand if you must tell the Regent. The Regent will hear nothing of this from me, Slate said. Callie wiped beneath her eyes and stepped forward to take Brim's hand. I had no idea you'd been through so much. Orion joined us, gently touching my arm. We have all been through more loss and pain than anyone deserves, but we are still here, and I will fight with you all until the end. Ilara stepped forward, eyebrows raised. Getting revenge will be so much fun, she said. Now I can stop holding back. My dear Ilara, if you have been holding back, I feel sorry for the person you decide to unleash on, Orion said. But either way, I'm glad to know we are all finally on the same page. But were we? Slate said he wouldn't tell the Regent what happened here, but was he really on our side? Could we trust him, or would sentinels march us to the dungeons as soon as we left this room? What we were talking about here was rebellion. If he'd really been here as long as everyone believed, he surely felt some loyalty to the Regent, to the Shard itself. Why else would he have stayed after winning the game so many times? When he finally spoke, his voice was low. Trust is not a simple thing in the Shard, he said. I may be powerful, and it may look like I have rank and authority, but I am a prisoner here, the same as you. And I have seen betrayal that would break your soul into pieces. He paused as if remembering something painful from the past, but like always, he closed it off, pushing it down so deep that it couldn't hurt him. This is why we don't go rogue or disobey orders, he said, eyes cutting toward me. You want to survive as a team long enough to make a difference here in the Shard? Then from this moment forward, you agree to have each other's backs at all times, to never go off on your own, even if you think it's in the best interest of the group, even if the Regent threatened you with torture and death. Because without trust, there is no team. Do you understand me? I opened my mouth to defend myself, but Slate raised a hand. Enough for today. He exhaled slowly. We will regroup tomorrow, but for now, rest. Eat. You've earned it. And what about the Regent? Brim asked. What if she comes for me tonight? He turned away from us, but his voice held an edge that wasn't anger anymore, something closer to fear. I will deal with the Regent myself, Slate said, pausing at the entrance before stepping through, leaving us in the room alone. For a moment, no one moved. The chamber felt smaller without him in it, too full of the things we'd just said out loud. Rebellion, trust, honor. All the dangerous words you weren't supposed to say in a place like this. Well, Callie said, blowing out a breath, that went better than I could have imagined. No one's dead, at least. Ilara snorted softly. Not on our team, she said. But yes, I am surprised to find Slate's relationship with the Regent less loyal than I once believed. If he can be trusted, Brim said. I have my doubts. We need to be careful. Orion offered me a hand, and I took it, my legs still shaking. Brim stayed close enough that I could feel his presence, but not so close that we touched. We were something new now. Not quite enemies, not quite friends. Something in between, where we understood each other's pain. We should eat, Orion said gently. If Slate is not to be trusted and the sentinels do come for us, I'd rather not face it hungry. Comforting, Ilara muttered, but she nodded toward the door. Come on, little stars, before Slate changes his mind and decides more training will help. We filed out together, moving as a unit this time, but not because Slate told us to, but because we wanted to. The mess hall was quieter than usual. Most of the other condemned had already finished, the echo of their voices replaced by the scrape of cutlery and the low murmur of distant conversations. We collected our trays in silence and sat at our normal table. Callie sat close enough that our shoulders touched. Ilara dropped into the seat across from us and immediately poked suspiciously at her stew. "Still terrible," she pronounced, then fished out the one decent-looking piece of meat and slid it into my bowl. "Despite what anyone else says, we're all still here because of you. You get the good part." Emotion rose sharply in my throat. It was really Brim's final points that pushed us over the edge, not mine. "You don't have to. I know," she said. "Eat it anyway." Brim sat at the end of the bench, quiet and moody. He stared at his tray for a long beat, then carefully pulled the chunk of bread from his bowl and set it on top of Callie's. She blinked. "What's this for?" He shifted, uncomfortable. "You like the crust." Callie smiled, small but bright. "I do," she said, voice soft. "Thank you." Something in my chest eased as we ate together. Not like condemned prisoners choking down their last meal, more like people clinging to the idea of friendship and truth for as long as we could. Callie cracked a terrible joke about Slate's motivational pep talks. Ilara threatened to curse the kitchen staff if she saw another turnip this week, and Orion made a quiet comment about how he missed the stars in his old world more than anything else. I didn't say much. I just watched them, all of them, and tried to memorize this. The warmth, the way our shoulders brushed, the quiet understanding that whatever happened over the next few days, we would walk into it together. When we finally scraped the last of the stew from our bowls, Callie pushed to her feet and stretched. "Come on," she said, glancing at me. "You're still staying in my room. No arguments." "Oh, I definitely will not argue," I said. "I've had enough near-death experiences for one day." Brim rose too, the bench creaking under his weight. For a second, I thought he might leave without another word, but he cleared his throat and turned toward me. "Bex." I looked up. He took one deep breath before the words came. "I should have told you the truth sooner," he said. "From here forward, let's agree to leave the past behind. I promise to have your back if you'll promise to have mine too." His sincere words hit harder than any shouting match ever could. "Always," I said quietly. He nodded once and turned away, heading for the barracks without looking back. Callie slipped her arm through mine, tugging me toward the corridor. "Progress," she whispered. "I told you he was capable of kindness." Ilara fell in on my other side. "Just wait," Callie said with a wink. "Soon we'll all be hugging and braiding each other's hair." "Don't threaten me," Ilara muttered. We laughed, and the sound was fragile but real as we made our way back to the sleeping quarters. Callie's room was dim, lit only by the faint glow from the crystal window. The false moon hung low, casting a soft wash of lavender across the narrow bed. We changed in silence, and Callie collapsed onto her sheets with a sigh and tugged the blanket up to her chin. "You okay?" she asked into the half-dark. "I think so," I said, settling on the mattress we'd moved over from my room and pulling the covers over my legs. "Better than this morning, but I'm still scared about our future." She sighed. "Same, but if you start thinking too much, kick my bed. I'll tell you ridiculous stories from my childhood in the trees until you fall asleep from boredom." A laugh escaped me. "Deal." Within minutes, her breathing evened out. Mine didn't. I lay there staring at the ceiling, every blink filled with flashes of the day, the crown flaring, souls ripped free. Brim's face when he told me they'd killed his little sister. The regent's gaze pinning me to the floor like a bug on a board. Sleep didn't want me. After what felt like an hour of tossing, I slipped from the bed and walked across the floor in absolute silence, a magical gift I now cursed after what it had done to Brim's family. The corridor outside was mostly dark, the crystals along the walls dimmed to a light shimmer. I told myself I was just going to get water, to walk, breathe, anything to stop replaying the look on Brim's face when he'd said it was me who destroyed his family. My steps carried me down past the mess hall, past the familiar path toward the training grounds. I should have turned back. Wasn't this exactly what everyone was so mad at me for? Going off on my own when I knew the dangers that lurked around every corner. I knew it was dumb, but I couldn't help myself. I had to see if he was there. I needed to talk to him alone. The lower arena was mostly in shadow, the magical torches long dimmed. Only the center of the training ring held any real light, a circle of pale violet reacting to the power of the man standing in it. He'd shed his armor for a simple dark shirt and trousers, but somehow that made him look even more dangerous, less like a soldier and more like himself. He moved through a precise sequence, barehanded, as if he were fighting an invisible opponent. Every twist and strike was controlled, violent and beautiful at the same time. I should have turned around. Instead, I stepped forward, yearning for the familiar electricity of his closeness. Slate stopped mid-motion. He didn't turn right away. For a heartbeat, we just stood there, his back to me, my hand pressed to the nearest crystal pillar for balance. "I told you to rest," he said finally. "I tried," I said. "My brain didn't get the memo." He faced me then, eyes catching the low light. There was something dark in his expression, tired and carved with shadows. "You shouldn't be down here alone," he said. "If the regent decides to." "She's already decided," I cut in, more sharply than I meant to. "It's just a matter of when and how. I honestly don't know why she hasn't ended me outright." His jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. For a moment, neither of us spoke or moved. "You said you'd deal with her," I said finally, my heart racing. "Did you?" "In my own way." His mouth twisted humorlessly. "The regent won't hurt anyone on the team before the final round." "Well, that's not exactly comforting." "It wasn't meant to be," he said softly. I stepped closer without really meaning to, drawn by some gravity I couldn't resist. "You've seen this before," I said. "What she did in the arena, the crown, the executions." "Yes." "How many times?" He hesitated, avoiding my eyes. "Too many." "I don't know how you've survived here this long," I whispered. "I've hardly made it a month without falling apart." "You're still standing." "Barely." He took a step toward me, closing the distance a tiny bit more and sending my body up in flames. The arena was deadly, but the feelings I had for him felt far more dangerous. "Barely still counts," he whispered, eyes dipping toward my lips. "I almost got us killed," I said, breathless. "Twice. The exhibition, today in the labyrinth. You were right to be furious. I'm a risk to the whole team." "They'd all be dead if you hadn't found those buttons when you did." My eyes widened, unable to believe his words. "You called me reckless and irresponsible." "I did," he said, a smirk tugging at the corners of his lips. "Because you are." His hand lifted, hovering near my jaw but not quite touching. "But you also did what you had to do. Brim said you were only looking out for yourself, but that's not why you broke from the group. You put yourself in danger so that they would not be punished for your choices. Not everyone would do that." He stepped closer, our bodies almost aligned now. I could feel the heat coming off him, could see the faint lines of the runes pulsing beneath his shirt as they awakened. "You are both the blade and the hand that dares to wield it," he said quietly. "That's what terrifies the regent." "That's not why she hates me, and I think you know it as well as I do." I looked up to find his eyes on mine, raw with desire. Do I terrify you? His breath hitched. Yes, he said. The word shivered through me like a spell. For a single suspended heartbeat, I thought he might close the gap. His gaze dropped to my mouth, then back up as his fingers touched my cheek, calloused and careful, as if one wrong move would break us both. Slate, I whispered. He bent his head so close I could feel the warmth of his breath against my skin, but then he stopped. Slowly, he pulled his hand back, wincing like it hurt to let go. This is a mistake, he said, forcing the words out. Whatever this is between us, it makes you a target. It risks the lives of our entire team. I was a target the moment I fell into this world, I said. You know that. His eyes closed briefly as if I'd confirmed something he didn't want to admit. For whatever reason, Sabine had given me this dragonfly pendant and sent me into this world knowing I'd be close to Slate, knowing we were connected in some way. I wanted to understand it myself. Was it fate or manipulation? When you go into that arena in a few days, he said, voice low and fierce, you fight like you intend to live, not just for some vague idea of revenge or freedom. For yourself, for every breath, for the people at your side. I thought that's what I've been doing. No, he said, your whole life you've been fighting to survive. It's not the same thing. I stared at him, my chest tight. What's the difference? Survival is fear, he said. Living is power. Choice. The words sank into me and I could hardly breathe. Are we ever really free to choose in this place? I asked. With the regent, the priestess, the order, isn't every choice a path to death? His gaze softened and he lifted his hand again as if to touch me, but stopping just shy of my skin. Choice is the only freedom we truly have. My heart ached. I wanted him to choose me, even though I knew how dangerous that would be for everyone. Slate. He stepped back before I could say anything else, retreating behind the lines he'd drawn around himself. Go back to Callie, he said, voice ruffled now. Try to sleep. You'll need every ounce of strength you have over the next few days. I wanted to argue, to demand more, to drag the truth out of him. Why had he never chosen to leave? How long had he been trapped here? Why wouldn't he let himself get close to me? Instead, I nodded and took a step back. Will you sleep? I asked. A humorless smile ghosted across his mouth. Not tonight. He turned away, picking up where he'd left off in his silent practice, moving through a new pattern of strikes and blocks like he could beat back the future through muscle memory alone. I walked to the barracks with my pulse still racing, my skin buzzing where he'd touched me, if only for a moment. Callie mumbled something in her sleep when I slipped back into the room, rolling toward the wall to make space for me in the quiet. I lay down on the narrow mattress and stared at the ceiling again. Tomorrow, we would train for our lives, but would any of it matter if the regent wanted us dead? At least this time, Brim would fight at my side instead of waiting to stab me in the back. And Slate would bark out his orders, pretending he didn't care about anything or anyone, while the truth burned in the space between us. For the first time since entering this world of mirrors and monsters, I understood something I hadn't had words for before. If I wanted more than survival, if I ever wanted to truly live, I was going to have to fight for it. Dun, dun, dun. Take a moment. Slate sleeps on granite. I love it. All very good questions we need answers to. We do need answers. Where's our answers? Some of them will come here and some of them will not. Um, oh, he chose you when he entered the mirror, which is true in a way, although not fully. Not fully. Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you so much for listening, for being so just it's so supportive. It just means a lot. Why do hot men never sleep? I know. It's like, what are you doing? You must sleep. I started crying too. I was like, "Wait a minute, what is happening?" I couldn't hold it back. I think I mentioned to you guys before, um I usually will read the episode to George before we do the reading, just so I get a practice of it and practice the accents and just make sure there's not two of the same words close together or something that doesn't flow off the tongue or whatever. But I didn't get to do that today because he was asleep and then I had a meeting to go to. So that was the first time I've actually read it out loud and it made me cry because it's just like poor Brim. No wonder he's so broken. Can you imagine? But also that moment of realizing it's not her fault. Even if it is, and you can justify the anger, it's still not her fault. It comes from, uh, it just comes from a place of survival, right? Thank you, Kelly. I'm like, does getting emotional over your own writing mean that you're good, or does it mean that you're just too invested? I have no idea. I'm glad he told her the truth. Right? Finally, finally, finally. Yeah, it's gonna be a long episode. And if you got here late, I'm gonna be reading episode 13 probably on Friday. I'm gonna take a day off tomorrow. I just emotionally and physically need a bit of a break tomorrow. So I'm going to do a full day of self-care and nurturing and rest, sleep as much as I need to. Um, oh, my favorite episode so far. Thank you, Alyssa. Uh, what was the scene that you changed in this particular? I mean, there are so many scenes that changed. So George actually did read it. He read it himself without me reading it to him. But he's like, it's pretty good. The bones thing is weird because I had written this when the bones drop after the regent. I was trying to describe the bones falling, but them being hollow. So they sound like wind chimes as they fall because they're tinking against each other. And he's like, that's a weird way to describe it. So I changed that. But there are so many scenes that have changed in terms of this whole thing. But specifically the story with Brim was always the story. But in terms of how it comes out, that changed as well, because originally he doesn't tell her in this area with Slate, because it felt like the way I had written it before that he wouldn't have trusted to say that in front of Slate, because even though they've got a relationship with Slate and they know he wants them to survive, they have a feeling he's hard on us, but he does want us to survive. They also nobody else has had those kind of moments of breaking through his thick skin the way that Bex has. So Brim, from his point of view, is just I don't know if I can trust this guy. He's just going to run off and tell. He's just part of the establishment, right? So I didn't have that happening in front of Slate. I also did not originally have the same maze, the labyrinth, that was different, as well as her killing those other two teams. So much of that stuff was changed. So almost every word of this, even though it was the same story, was totally rewritten over the last 3 days. So I think the emotional outpouring and the amount of words that I'm writing being it's just not sustainable to also be let's now write the 7,000 word finale tomorrow. So thank you for understanding that, but we will get to it hopefully on Friday. I did not put the book up for pre-order yet, because at this point we're at 60,000 words when I originally plotted the beginning for a different thing. So I'm like, do I need to expand the opening? Do I need to change some things? And I don't know yet. So that is on hold. However, in exciting news, I am pretty sure now I have a way to do purple edges on the paperback, and the paperback itself will be thicker because the book is so much longer. Because I was worried about the paperback being too thin because it was only gonna be like 36,000 words. Well, never fear. It's 60,000 and it's going to be a nice, decent sized book. So I will do, I think, probably a one-time pre-order for signed paperbacks with purple edges. They might not have anything else fancy about them. I'm still kind of working on it. So I wish I could get a map made, but we'll save that for later because right now I don't have the bandwidth to find it, or to, find the right person and get it done fast enough. But oh, I'm so glad you guys the the episode. It makes me so happy. If you change your mind and need a break before writing book 2, please do that. Yeah, thank you. I feel like I'm excited right now to move straight into book 2. And I had hoped, of course, everything ends up getting Andrew, how do you know this? Yes, there will be a different colored edge and a different color cover to each one. Ooh, Andrew could try a map. We could see my son Andrew. More Sarah words. Purple edges. So there is usually if you're going to put colorful sprayed edges, you either have to literally get someone to spray paint or hand paint them, or you have to have them printed through a specialty printer that can do it. But there is a company called Painted Wings that actually creates forced edges, which are able to be printed through Ingram and KDP. So I'm going to do some trials of it and see what the cost is before I give you guys a specific cost. But for anybody that's wanting to order them, I will do a one-time order. And my plan right now is to read this entire 5-book series for free here on YouTube. And then, of course, everybody inside the Broken Chapter Society will get the free copy of the updated ebook as well. And then, we'll see if we need some Alara t-shirts and some other things like that. I just love her. It's so funny that you can have a character like that just I don't even feel like I'm creating her lines. She just comes up with her own things to say that don't come from me. It's so funny. Book Vault does custom sprayed edges, but the US store is not as consistent as the UK store. And in order to do it, you either have to put it up on order and people have to wait 3 weeks for it to get here, or you have to order a bunch of them to make it affordable. So what I'm doing with Painted Wings is print on demand. So you'll be able to buy the purple edges on Amazon just at normal cost. But I will do a one-time order for signed ones. So yeah, it'll be fun. We're gonna experiment with it. There are plans that I'll tell you guys up front. There are plans to do a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter version would probably have upraised gold on the mirror. So that's kind of the big thought right now is I don't want anyone to be disappointed if they don't get as nice of a copy later. So I'm trying to see how I can work it out, but I'll keep you guys updated and it'll be fair and whatnot. But could you write a word in the painted edges? You could write it backwards. So people have to read it in a mirror to hold in a mirror to read it. You can do that. You would have to pay for their custom service. To get the purple edges, it's only $50 to get just their basic package, but you can also contact them and they can make you a custom edge. But what was really great is they have also black roses. And I'm that would be so pretty on the Beautiful Demons books. So I'm going to test it. People say it works great. I haven't tried it myself. Purple ribbon bookmark would be really great too. I think that would be super fun. All right, you guys, that is, that's true. You could do an interesting page inside the book that you could hold to a mirror. You guys are so cool. That is such a great idea. I really love that. Anyway, I am so glad that you guys loved this episode. Thank you so much for being here, whether you're here on the replay or you're here just, because you're always here. Let's do a quick drawing. If you haven't put in your episode 12, you can do it real quick right now, and then we'll choose a winner. And like I said, I have not sent any of these out yet, but I'll just send them all out after after Friday. Yes, and Angie, I've got it. I almost forgot. Let's see. All right, let's go. Giveaway. Dun 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 dun. Oh, I'm so glad you guys love this episode. I Janine, yay! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Janine, you have won the pages. I think this might be our first like Twitch winner, which is super fun. Which, by the way, last week I did not do a Twitch stream, but I will be streaming this Thursday if you guys want to join me on Twitch as well. And even though we will not have a Wednesday episode, I am planning to still be live. We might just chat or whatever, but we shall see. Congrats, Janine. Just send me an email, sarah@sarracannon.com, and we will get those pages out to you if you send me your address. And I love you guys. I'm going to go hang out with my friend Casey. Oh my gosh, this is going to be an awesome night. And then tomorrow I'm going dark. I'm going to be totally silent. No vlog, no live streams, nothing. But I will keep you guys updated on Friday's episode and Wednesday's live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to be smiling all night. All right. Love you guys. I'll see you next time.